been broken before, and you told yourself it would never happen again, but here you are, still fragile, still reactive, still one bad day away from collapse. Why? Because you never fixed the real problem. You patched the wound. You moved on. You pretended you were stronger, but you didn't rebuild the foundation. You didn't kill the weakness that let life break you in the first place. And now you're walking around with the same fragile mind, just better at hiding it. That ends here. Most people think resilience is about enduring pain. It's not. It's about becoming immune to it. It's about training your psychology so thoroughly that nothing external can destabilize what's internal. No rejection, no betrayal, no loss. Not because you don't feel it, but because you've mastered the response. You've eliminated the dependency. You've removed the emotional leverage that others use to control you. That's what Machiavelli understood. That's what separates the broken from the unbreakable. And if you think that's cold, you're already weak. You want to know why life keeps breaking you? Because you're still playing by the wrong rules. You're still seeking approval, still chasing comfort, still attached to outcomes you can't control. And every time you do that, you hand over power. You make yourself vulnerable. You train yourself to collapse. But power isn't given, it's taken. And it starts the moment you stop needing anything from anyone, the moment you kill attachment, the moment you turn pain into precision instead of spiraling into self-pity. That shift, from victim to strategist, is everything. This isn't motivation, this isn't inspiration, this is reconstruction. By the end of this, you'll understand exactly why you break, and how to make sure it never happens again. Not through hope, through psychology, through discipline, through ruthless self-mastery. Because life won't stop testing you, but you can stop failing the test. You think breaking is what happens when life hits you too hard, but that's not when you break. You break the moment you decide the hit matters more than your control. People walk around shattered because they gave external forces dominance over their internal state. They let rejection define them. They let failure own them. They handed over power without even knowing it. And once you give power away, you don't just lose it. You forget you ever had it. That's the real break, not the event, the surrender. I've watched strong people collapse under weight that should have been nothing. Not because the weight was too much, because their mind had no structure, no framework, no boundary between what they are and what happens to them. When your identity is tied to outcomes, you're already fragile. Every loss becomes a crack. Every betrayal becomes a wound. And eventually you're walking around held together by hope and approval, waiting for the next thing to finish you off. That's not survival. That's slow death with a smile. The unbroken mind doesn't ignore pain, it processes it without attachment, it observes consequence without emotion. When something bad happens, it doesn't ask, "Why me?" It asks, "What now?" That shift alone changes everything, because the moment you stop being a victim of circumstance, you become the architect of response. And response is where all real power lives. Not in what happens to you, in what you do with it. Machiavelli understood this. Stoics built entire philosophies around it, and neuroscience confirms it. Your brain doesn't care about fairness. It cares about pattern and reinforcement. You want to never break again? Stop reinforcing weakness. Every time you crumble, you teach your nervous system that crumbling works. You train yourself to collapse. It's Pavlovian. You cry, people comfort you. You fall apart, someone picks you up, and your brain learns, breaking gets me something. So it breaks easier next time, faster, with less resistance. You become efficient at your own destruction, and the worst part, You call it being human. You call it feeling. But it's not. It's conditioning. And conditioning can be rewritten. Here's what most people won't tell you. The unbroken mind isn't born. It's forged through repetition, through exposure, through deliberate psychological reconstruction. You don't just decide to be unbreakable and wake up that way. You build it. One refusal at a time, one moment where you choose control over reaction, one instance where you feel the emotion fully, and then do nothing with it. No outburst, no spiral, no manipulation of others for comfort. Just cold, calculated observation. That's the training. And it's not comfortable, but comfort is exactly what keeps you breakable. You run to comfort every time discomfort appears. That's the pattern. That's the weakness. Every time something challenges you, threatens you, or makes you feel small, your first instinct is to find relief. A distraction, a person, a substance, anything that makes the feeling stop. And you think that's self-care. You think that's healthy. But it's not. It's avoidance dressed up as wellness. And avoidance doesn't build strength. It builds dependency. You become dependent on ease, on safety, on the absence of fear. And the moment life removes those things, you have nothing left. Comfort is a drug. It numbs you. It makes you soft. And soft people break under pressure because they've never learned to hold weight. They collapse the second things get hard because hard is unfamiliar. It's threatening. Their entire psychology is built around escaping pain, not enduring it. So when pain becomes unavoidable, and it always does, they have no defense, no framework, no resilience, just panic, just desperation, just the same weak reflex they've been practicing their whole life. Run, hide, soothe, repeat. That's not survival. That's domestication. I'm not saying comfort is evil. I'm saying it's tactical. And most people use it wrong. They use it as an escape instead of a reward. They seek it before they've earned it, before they've done the hard thing. And that inverts the entire structure of power. Because power isn't found in what feels good. It's found in what you can tolerate. The more discomfort you can sit with, the more control you have over yourself, over your emotions, over the reactions of others. When you stop needing comfort, you stop being manipulated by it. And that's where dominance begins. Look at how people use you. They offer comfort when they want something. They soothe you to lower your boundary. They make you feel safe so you'll expose yourself. It's psychology. It's manipulation. And it works because you've been conditioned to trust anything that feels good. But feelings lie. Comfort lies. It tells you you're okay when you're not. It tells you to stay when you should leave. It convinces you that avoiding the hard conversation, the difficult choice, the painful truth is somehow the right move. But it's not. It's just the easy one. And easy is how you stay weak. The moment you stop chasing comfort, everything shifts. You stop being controlled by fear. You stop negotiating with your own emotions. You stop letting other people's approval dictate your actions. Because comfort is always conditional. It requires you to behave a certain way, to not rock the boat, to stay small, to stay quiet, to stay manageable. But power doesn't come from being manageable. It comes from being unmovable. And unmovable people don't need comfort. They need clarity. They need ruthlessness. They need a mind trained to function in discomfort like it's home. You think emotions make you human. They don't. They make you predictable. Every time you react from emotion, you're following a script someone else wrote. Your anger, your sadness, your fear, they're all responses programmed into you by survival instincts that haven't updated in thousands of years. And while everyone else is enslaved by those instincts, you can choose to rise above them, not by suppressing emotion, by mastering it, by training your mind to observe feelings without obeying them. That's the difference between power and weakness. Weak people are ruled by what they feel. Strong people decide what to do with it. Emotion is information, nothing more. It tells you something is happening, internally or externally, but it doesn't tell you what to do about it. That part is yours. When someone disrespects you, anger appears. That's automatic. But what you do next, whether you lash out, stay silent, or respond with calculated precision, that's training. Most people never train. They just react. They let emotion pilot their decisions, their words, their entire lives. And then they wonder why they keep ending up in the same destructive patterns. It's because they never learned control. They mistake feeling something with having to act on it. I spent years letting emotions run me. Every insult felt personal. Every rejection felt like proof of something deeper. And I responded accordingly. Defensive, reactive, desperate to prove I wasn't what they said I was. But that's the trap. The more you react, the more you confirm you care. And caring is vulnerability. People sense it. They exploit it. They know exactly which buttons to push because you've shown them. Your emotion is a map of your weakness. And if you don't learn to hide that map, everyone who wants something from you will use it. Manipulation isn't complex. It's just reading someone's emotions and leveraging them. Training your mind beyond emotion doesn't mean becoming cold. It means becoming deliberate. When fear shows up, you acknowledge it. Then you move anyway. When anger surfaces, you feel it fully. Then you choose silence or strategy, not explosion. This is what Stoics practiced, what special forces operators train for, what high-level negotiators, surgeons, and tacticians rely on. The ability to function under emotional load without letting that load dictate behavior. It's a skill, and like any skill, it requires repetition. You practice in small moments. The rude cashier, the passive-aggressive text, the unjust criticism. You feel the spike, then you do nothing. You breathe, you observe, you let it pass without feeding it. Here's the brutal truth. Most people will never do this. They're too addicted to the release, the outburst, the drama, the validation that comes from showing everyone how hurt they are. But that validation costs you respect. It costs you power. It costs you control. Every time you let emotion dictate your response, you train yourself to be weaker. You reinforce the pattern. But every time you feel something and choose not to react, you build psychological armor. You prove to yourself that you are not your feelings. You are the one who decides what they mean and what you do about them. And that is where dominance over your own life begins. You're attached to things that don't serve you, people who drain you, outcomes you can't control, versions of yourself that no longer exist. And every attachment is a chain. The more you have, the less free you are, the less powerful. Because attachment creates dependency, and dependency creates fear. Fear of losing what you have, fear of not getting what you want, fear of being exposed, abandoned, or proven wrong. That fear runs your life. It dictates your choices. It keeps you small. And as long as you're attached, you'll never be truly powerful. Because power requires freedom, and freedom requires letting go. Most people confuse attachment with love, with loyalty, with commitment. But they're not the same. Attachment is need. It's clinging. It's the belief that your well-being depends on something external staying exactly as it is. That's not strength. That's fragility. When you're attached to a person, you can't see them clearly. You see what you need them to be. When you're attached to an outcome, you can't adapt. You force reality to match your expectation. And when reality refuses, because it always does, you break. Not because life is cruel, because you are holding on too tight. I've seen people destroy themselves over attachments. Relationships that ended years ago but still live in their heads. Jobs they lost. Respect they never had. They carry these things like anchors, dragging them down into every new situation. And they wonder why nothing works, why they can't move forward. It's because they're still tethered to what's behind them, still negotiating with ghosts, still hoping that if they just hold on a little longer, things will go back to how they were. But they won't. And even if they did, you'd still be weak, because attachment doesn't make you stronger. It makes you controllable. When you kill attachment, you kill the leverage others have over you. No one can threaten you with loss if you're not afraid to lose. No one can manipulate you with approval if you don't need it. No one can break you with rejection if you've already accepted that nothing is permanent. This is what Machiavelli meant when he said it's better to be feared than loved. Not because love is worthless, because attachment to being loved makes you soft, makes you negotiable, makes you willing to compromise your power for the comfort of being wanted. But once you stop needing that, you become untouchable. You operate from choice, not desperation. And that shift changes everything. Here's the training. Start small. Identify one thing you're too attached to. A habit, a person's opinion, a specific outcome. Then deliberately distance yourself from it, not out of spite, out of discipline, out of the understanding that your power grows in proportion to your detachment. Practice walking away from things that feel important but aren't essential. Practice saying no to comfort when it costs you control. Practice being alone without filling the silence. Because inner power isn't built by accumulating. It's built by releasing, by proving to yourself that you don't need anything outside of you to remain whole. And once you prove that, once you truly internalize it, you stop being breakable. You become the immovable force everyone else crashes against. Pain sharpens you, but only if you let it. Most people let pain destroy them instead. They take the hit and collapse inward. They replay it. They nurse it. They build entire identities around their wounds. And then they wonder why they never heal. It's because they're not trying to heal. They're trying to be understood. They're using pain as currency for sympathy, for validation, for proof that they've suffered enough to deserve something better. But pain doesn't care about fairness. And neither does power. Pain is raw material. What you do with it determines whether you become sharper or just more broken. Every betrayal teaches you who to trust. Every failure teaches you what doesn't work. Every rejection teaches you where you were weak. But only if you're paying attention. Only if you're willing to extract the lesson without drowning in the emotion. Most people can't do that. They feel the pain and stop there. They let it consume them. They let it cloud their judgment. They make the same mistakes over and over because they never analyzed what went wrong. They just felt bad about it. That's not learning. That's suffering for no reason. And suffering without growth is just waste. I used to take every loss personally. Every time someone walked away, I thought it meant something about me. And maybe it did, but I was too busy being hurt to figure out what. I was reactive, emotional, desperate to prove I wasn't the problem. And that desperation made me blind. Blind to my own patterns. Blind to the red flags I ignored. Blind to the fact that I was choosing the wrong people, the wrong situations, the wrong responses. It wasn't until I stopped trying to be right and started trying to be precise that everything changed. Precision means clarity. It means asking the hard questions. What did I miss? Where was I naive? What boundary did I fail to enforce? Pain becomes precision the moment you stop defending yourself and start dissecting the failure. This is how strategists think, how soldiers operate, how anyone who survives high-stakes environments learns to function. They don't ignore pain. They study it. They reverse engineer it. They figure out exactly where the breakdown happened and make sure it never happens again. That's not cold, that's intelligent. Because emotion without analysis is just noise. But analysis without emotion is incomplete. You need both. Feel it fully, then think clearly. Process the consequence. Understand the psychology. Map the manipulation. Identify the weakness. And then, and this is critical, you adjust. You don't just understand. You change. You rebuild. You reinforce. Here's what this looks like in practice. Someone betrays you. First response. Feel it. Don't suppress. Don't pretend it doesn't hurt. It does. Sit with that. Then, shift. What did they exploit? Your trust, your attachment, your need for approval? Good. Now you know. That's the weakness. That's what gets trained out. Next time, you don't trust as easily. You don't attach as deeply. You don't need approval to move forward. You've turned pain into a filter, a boundary, a defense mechanism that doesn't require anger or bitterness, just clarity. That's precision. That's power. And every time you do this, every time you extract strategy from suffering, you become harder to break. Not because you're numb, because you're sharper. And sharpness is survival. You're running a story in your head, and that story is destroying you. It's the one where you're the victim, where life happened to you, where you got dealt a bad hand and never recovered. You tell yourself this story every day. You reinforce it with every complaint, every excuse, every time you explain why things didn't work out. And the more you tell it, the more real it becomes. Not because it's true, because repetition creates belief, and belief creates behavior. You've convinced yourself that you're broken, that you're unlucky, that you're not enough. And now you're living that out. Not because it's who you are, because it's the narrative you keep running. Narratives are programming. They're the lens through which you interpret everything that happens to you. Two people experience the same rejection. One walks away thinking, I'm unworthy. The other thinks, they weren't ready for me. Same event, different story, different outcome. The first person spirals. The second moves forward. And the only difference is the narrative they chose. You think your story is fixed, that it's based on facts. But facts are just data. The story is interpretation, and interpretation is always a choice. Most people just don't realize they're choosing. They think their narrative is reality, but it's not. It's a construct, and constructs can be rewritten. I rewrote mine. I had to, because the old story was killing me. It was the story of someone who tried hard and got nothing. Someone who was good but got used. Someone who deserved better but kept getting worse. And as long as I believed that, I stayed stuck. I stayed resentful. I stayed weak. But then I asked a different question. Not why did this happen to me, but what if this happened for me? What if every betrayal was a filter? What if every failure was a redirection? What if every loss was removing something I didn't need? That shift from victim to strategist, changed everything. Because suddenly I wasn't broken, I was being sharpened. This isn't about lying to yourself. It's not about toxic positivity or pretending bad things are good. It's about control, about refusing to let your suffering define you, about taking the raw material of your life and building something with it instead of just staring at the wreckage. You rewrite the narrative by changing the frame, by asking better questions, by looking for what the pain taught you instead of what it took from you, by seeing yourself not as someone things happen to, but as someone who adapts, extracts, and evolves. That's not delusion, that's power. Because the person who controls the story controls the meaning, and the person who controls the meaning controls their future. Here's how you do it. Take the worst thing that happened to you, the thing you keep using as evidence of why you're damaged. Now tell it differently, not softer, stronger. What did it force you to learn? What weakness did it expose that you've since fortified? What illusion did it destroy that was keeping you naive? Reframe it, not as the thing that broke you, but as the thing that revealed what needed to change. And then change it. Because you're not the story of what happened. You're the story of what you did next. And what you do next is always in your control. That's the narrative that builds unbreakable people. Not the one about survival, the one about transformation. You're afraid to be alone. That's why you stay in situations that weaken you, relationships that drain you, friendships that require you to stay small, jobs that kill your spirit. You stay because leaving means isolation. And isolation feels like death, but it's not. It's rebirth. It's the place where everything false gets stripped away, and what's left is either strong enough to stand or weak enough to finally collapse. And if it collapses, good. Because you can't build power on a foundation of fear and approval. You have to burn that down first. And isolation is the fire. Most people can't handle being alone. Not physically, psychologically. They need noise, validation, distraction. Something to confirm they exist. Something to tell them they're okay. So they surround themselves with people who don't challenge them, who don't demand growth, who let them stay comfortable. And they call that community. But it's not. It's codependency. It's a mutual agreement to never evolve. Because evolution requires isolation. It requires stepping away from the crowd and asking yourself hard questions no one else will ask. Who am I without the approval? What do I actually believe? What do I want versus what I've been told to want? You can't answer those in a crowd. You can only answer them alone. I disappeared for months once. Not because I wanted to, because I had to. Everything I thought was solid, relationships, identity, purpose, collapsed. And I was left with nothing but myself. No distractions, no validation, no one to perform for. Just silence. And at first it was unbearable. I wanted to reach out, to explain, to fix things. But I didn't. I sat in it. And slowly, something shifted. The desperation faded. The need for external confirmation dissolved. I stopped checking for messages. Stopped caring who remembered me. Stopped defining myself by who stayed or left. And in that space, that cold, uncomfortable, isolated space, I rebuilt. Not the old version. A new one. One that didn't need anyone to function. This is what isolation does. It kills the weak parts of you. The parts that only exist because other people reinforced them. The performed confidence, the people-pleasing, the need to be liked. All of it dies in isolation because there's no one there to feed it. And what's left is either real strength or nothing. If you come out of isolation stronger, you were always strong. You just needed the noise to stop so you could hear yourself. If you come out broken, you were already broken. You were just using people to hold you together. Either way, isolation reveals the truth, and truth is the only foundation worth building on. Here's what you do. Disconnect. Not forever. Just long enough to remember who you are without the feedback loop. Delete the apps. Stop explaining yourself. Stop updating people. Stop seeking input. Go silent, and in that silence, build. Read the books no one told you to read. Train your body without posting about it. Work on the skills that serve you, not the ones that impress others. Marcus Aurelius wrote Meditations in Isolation. Machiavelli wrote The Prince in Exile. Every king, every strategist, every person who ever built real power did it alone first. Because power isn't a group project. It's a solitary forging. And if you can't stand being alone with yourself, you'll never be strong enough to stand alone in the world. You care too much about what they think, what they say, whether they respect you, whether they see your worth. And that care is a leash. Every time you need someone to acknowledge you, you give them control. Every time you react to disrespect, you prove it bothered you. And once they know it bothers you, they own you. Because now they know exactly how to manipulate you, how to destabilize you, how to make you small. Indifference is the only counter, not pretending you don't care, actually not caring. And that's not cruelty, that's freedom. Because the moment you stop needing their approval, their opinion, their validation, you become untouchable. Indifference isn't cold, it's calculated. It's the understanding that most things people do have nothing to do with you. They're acting out their own fears, insecurities, survival strategies, and you're just there, a target, a mirror, a prop in their story. But you don't have to participate. You don't have to defend yourself. You don't have to prove anything. You can just observe, acknowledge, and move on. No emotion, no attachment, no consequence. That's power. Because power isn't found in reaction. It's found in the absence of it. When someone tries to hurt you and you don't flinch, they lose. When they insult you and you don't respond, they spiral. Because they need your reaction to feel powerful, and you just refuse to give it. I used to fight every battle, every slight, every disrespect. I thought that's what strength looked like, never backing down. But I was exhausting myself, burning energy on people who didn't matter, on situations that had no real consequence. I was giving power to things that deserved indifference. And then I learned something. The most dangerous people are the ones who don't react, the ones you can't read, the ones who hear your insult, look at you and say nothing. Not because they're scared, because you're irrelevant. That indifference creates fear. It creates doubt. It makes people question themselves. Because if you don't care, maybe they're not as important as they thought. Maybe their words don't carry the weight they assumed. And that uncertainty, that's where you win. This is psychological warfare, and most people don't even know they're in it. They're too busy reacting, too busy defending, too busy trying to control what others think of them. But you can't control that. You never could. The only thing you control is whether it matters to you. And if it doesn't, if you genuinely reach a place where their judgment, their rejection, their disrespect has no impact on your internal state, you become immune. Not numb, immune. There's a difference. Numb is suppression. Immune is mastery. You feel it. You register it, and then you discard it, because it has no value, no utility, no relevance to who you are or where you're going. Here's the practice. Next time someone tries to provoke you, Silence. Next time someone disrespects you, observe. Next time someone tries to manipulate you with guilt, anger, or disappointment, acknowledge it and do nothing. Don't explain. Don't justify. Don't defend. Just let it sit. Let them sit with the fact that you didn't react, that you didn't break, that you didn't need to win the argument or prove you were right, because you've already won. You've won by not playing. And that indifference, that refusal to engage with what doesn't serve you, is the final layer of psychological armor. Once you have it, nothing breaks you, because you've stopped caring whether it tries. You now understand why you break, and more importantly, how to stop. This isn't theory, this is structure. This is the framework that separates those who collapse from those who dominate. You don't need hope, you need discipline. You don't need comfort, you need control. And control comes from mastering the 8 principles you just absorbed: the unbroken mind, the refusal of comfort, emotional supremacy, detachment, precision through pain, narrative reconstruction, isolation as forge, and indifference as armor. These aren't suggestions, they're requirements. And if you skip even one, you remain breakable. Before you close this, you're going to do 2 things. First, go watch the video before this one. When you master this, you stop being human. It's the missing piece, the psychological edge that makes everything you just learned irreversible. You don't get to skip it. Second, prove you understood. Write this in the comments: I choose power over comfort. Not as a question, not as a thought, as a declaration. Type it. Commit to it. Let it be the first line of code in your reprogramming. Life will test you again, but this time, you won't break.